What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Castlevania Dominus collection. I was actually given this game for a review just a few days ago, several weeks after the game has come out, and because of that, because of all of the other, the onslaught of games that we're currently going through with Astro and everything else, I haven't been able to go through this game in the way that I want, but I'm here to give you guys just kind of quick, rapid-fire impressions, and this is a game I definitely want to play more of, because, spoilers, I think this game is phenomenal. I really, really love it, and I kind of took a chance. Like, I saw this game was out. I remember when Nintendo had Nintendo Direct, and I believe that's when they first showed it, and I thought, you know what? If it's available for, a review code, I like Castlevania. It's never been a thing that I've, massively, kind of gotten into, but Symphony of the Night is phenomenal, so I took a chance on it in the sense that I've never played these games before, and I'm not, a big Castlevania guy, although I know and can respect the franchise, and holy dear God, the games are phenomenal. Now, I actually think Portrait of Ruin is my favorite. What I did is I played about an hour and a half of the three of them. Now, technically, there's 5 games in this entire thing, but it's really these main 3. This is the meat and potatoes of the entire thing, and I tried to split it up. I did an hour and a half of each and kind of went through chronologically, in terms of when they actually released, and, you could actually tell, oh my God, they took some massive steps up here, then they took some massive steps up here, but I actually think the middle game is my favorite so far of these 3. But again, I didn't put in too many hours. I fired it up kind of on a whim, and I had an absolute blast. I think, to just quickly go over just some general facts, right? Obviously, these are the DS games, and, I had a DS. I mean, mainly I played, Pokemon and stuff on DS. I never played Castlevania. I think they do a pretty darn good job of, and they do it, differently than sometimes if you play, so let's say, a Nintendo game nowadays through other means, they'll kind of stack, one on top of the other, the 2 screens. In this one, they put it, left and right. So the left screen is your major gameplay screen. Your right screen is going to have all of the stats, the enemy info. I think it has 2 screens on it technically. You have to press a button to kind of swap it. Has the map, and I think, is it the prettiest thing to look at in terms of the layout? Not necessarily, but I think it does the job of condensing and putting literally on just one screen, one kind of rectangular thing, what the DS would look like. And visually, I really like the look of these games. In terms of music, I was trying to once you hear kind of the riff, right, and it just kind of repeats, you don't necessarily have to hear it the entire time, but I wanted to hear each of them. I think the soundtracks of these games are awesome. It's very high beat. I can get down to it. I would listen to some of the sound effects. It's good. I'm actually kind of mad, to be honest with you, that not only did I not play it on DS, but that also I am 2.5 weeks late to it releasing, because I truly believe at their core, these are phenomenal games. I didn't even, I've played Symphony of the Night, and that's actually one of the only Castlevania games I've ever played, and, I've looked at rankings, and I believe I've seen these games in rankings, but I never knew of them, I never heard of them, and, really the trailers for them were the first time I got into it, and yeah, I can understand why these games are kind of towards the top. Symphony of the Night might be number 1, but these games are probably in the top 5. They're just a blast, from enemy variety to the gameplay to just, I would say how they literally roll out is a lot of fun. You have your exposition, you have your story kind of set up, then they kind of just let you loose, and you'll go through multiple areas. You'll face the multiple kind of grunt enemies that are very diverse, very cool. Now, they kind of repeat in the games. Some enemies you play in game number 1, you might fight against again in game number 3. But the bosses obviously are insanely cool. The difficulty is kind of just right. I tried to play, because I do have a Castlevania collection. I tried to play the original, the very first one. It's hard, and I'm trying to play the Mega Man games. I've played 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if I was made for the games in the late 80s, because those games were rather difficult, but I feel like this one strikes a good blend of, it's actiony and it's fast, but it's also kind of strategic, and obviously your weapon choices matter. You might need a longer weapon, a spear or something for long distance, or a javelin or something. Then you might use a short sword for something else, and they'll do different damage to different enemies. You gotta think, but it's not crushing. There was a couple bosses that took me a little bit, but once you kind of find the gimmick, once you kind of figure them out, they're not impossible. And so I really think it strikes the right, blend of difficult and challenge, and you have to think about it, as well as just fun, you know what I mean? And not being impossible, where you can actually get through these things. None of them I'm stuck at right now, right? I kind of like quit on my own free will just to try out like the next one for this quick video. And I don't even know much else to say. Like, it's why I wanted to make a video like this. These, like, if you trust me, and I mean, look, ultimately you make your own decisions, right? But I feel like I've seen a lot of people that have told me, Alex, you know what? We can understand where you're coming from with a lot of these things. And, you normally don't steer us wrong with your game recommendations. If you're any kind of fan of Castlevania, or you like the Metroidvania type things, like, these are 3 amazing games. I think they're $35 for the 3 of them. And they're also meaty. I think they're around like 10 or like I looked up how long to beat. I think they're like 8 to 10 hours each, maybe even longer. So like you're probably getting like your dollar per hour thing. If you want like 35 hours for $35, you're probably getting it. And I don't know, like I just watched a video of somebody else talking about it, and they kind of defined this era, this DS era of Castlevania, as like its all-time high. And I feel like consistently that's probably true. Like, it might not be the best game they've ever created, but I actually think through all 3 of them, they're all unique. They all, I mean, like, I haven't really even, like, the first game is more about kind of like sucking in powers and you like the glyphs, and you're able to kind of pick and choose. Game number 2 is more about, and that's why I love game number 2, is about swapping characters. So you can use them kind of tag team style. You can use one and then swap to another for kind of different things. Some armor will only kind of work on one versus another. And again, I feel like just the feel of the gameplay is at its peak in the second one. And the third one, honestly, kind of blends the two. Like, in some ways, some of the traversal, some of like the actual feel of the controls feels the best of them. I feel like it maybe takes some steps back gameplay, like fighting, actual like combat-wise, versus the second game. But I feel like these games almost kind of get better and better, but none of them are weak. Like, you can have an absolute blast in any of these 3 games. And I would argue any of these 3 games would be worth that $35. That's a controversial one. I think any of these would be worth it. I really think they did a good job. And from somebody who's not really into it, like, heard about it maybe like 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, and took just, on a whim, played this, I was shocked. I legitimately was shocked, because I know there's bad Castlevania, just like Mega Man. Like, I know there's really good ones, and I know there's really bad ones, and I don't know which is which, because I'm not, super into it. So I went into this collection, I was like, okay, I truly don't know. I don't know if these games are supposed to be good, if they're supposed to be bad, and they're keeping it around for preservation-wise, which I could still get down with. I think that's actually a really fine thing. I don't really care. But no, actually, these games are quite good. So, again, depending on what you're into, if you're into these type of games, yes, absolutely. And, I might actually have to, like I said, I got the review code for it. I might have to consider like $35. The cover of it, I mean, you can see kind of behind me, but the cover of this game is phenomenal. To get it physically, $35, and to have something like that preservationist wise, I feel like would be a really good move. So I'm gonna honestly think about that, in my free time today. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you've played it, make sure as always you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.